YouTube and the LinkedIn. And yes, you'll get a little bit of country from me because everything has to be the in front of it. So while we wait for Instagram to come on my phone, I'd be remiss if I did not do a live in its 1 week from the tax season deadline. I was prompted to do this because I've definitely been doing more content on LinkedIn. There's always a balance of how much you can create in content as you grow your business. We are definitely experiencing growing pains here, especially when I announced that I was turning us into more of a consulting firm. So that in itself is a whole entire different realm, all while cash flowing and supporting a team, payroll. So I'm very vulnerable as with growth. And I think that's one of the things that people need to see as a business owner. And I'm going through some major changes, empty nesting here soon. Empty nesting. My son graduates from high school, my youngest. And that's always fun. And just a lot of good, positive things in spite of the chaos that we see in the world, and that my clients Q4 of 2025, a lot of influx in income. And so definitely I'm moving in grace with that because their influx is sometimes my influx. And I feel that. And then for Q1, economically, I think a lot of individuals are just recovering. So I definitely want to give more insight as you grow margins in your business, some of the things that I've witnessed and experienced myself. I'm all about sharing observation and best practices. And I'll start off with that in mind. And then I'll also just go into the things that I'm noticing most, the things that are coming across my desk. So there's going to be a twofold conversation here that I'm providing. I definitely want to keep this below 5 to 7 minutes. So wish me luck on that. I tend to be a chatterbug when I'm passionate about stuff. So with that said, I'm going to look here and just get some talking points because your girl is tired. We've been doing some long nights just to make sure that we get everybody all set. If you are tax accountant, CPA, enrolled, they work with tax advisor, please know it's extension time. If they can take you, great. We have this thing, we have a cutoff date. If we do not get all the documents, if you have not touched us by a certain date, you get an extension. You get an extension because you get the best of me when I do not have my team scattering, data entering, we miss stuff. It's super important to make sure that things aren't missed with all of the things the big, beautiful bill has to offer business owners. And that means a more quality assurance type of way of doing business. In addition, last year, letters went out. When you have a tax practitioner who is national, what you're going to find is certain states have different things that they are jumping off. And I just found an East Coast state that emulates anything that the feds do. So imagine getting an examination that was just prompted because you got an examination somewhere else in the system and you didn't know. So lots of nuances when legislation is passed and it creates transparency. This is what you get. You get all things talking to each other, all departments talking to each other, sharing information. So it's been ongoing, and now the states now talk to the feds. Not quite sure if I like that, but it impacts taxes. So I wanted to start off with this message. The 3 things that you say to yourself that could be preventing business growth. It's kind of some mentality that it takes to be a business owner. I've done this for anywhere between 11 and 12 years as my main bread and butter. I've raised 3 grown men, through this process and gone through a couple of health occurrences, breakups, whatever it is. I've probably gone through it. And I always like to share like knowledge, how it is to be in the grit and the grind of the business, because most people always look at and put on display on Instagram or all these social medias what it looks like to be pretty in business. But I'm going to tell you internally, one of the reasons why I'm finding people aren't growing in business is because the self-conversation and the identity is not matching up with success or with powerful results. And I will just let you know, it's the littlest things that you're saying to yourself, or in my case, because I'm a Catholic priest at this point, you tell your tax practitioner, someone who's in front of you, and they can identify that there's a disconnect. There's a dissonance between, yes, I want to be this wonderful business owner, and then actually being a wonderful business owner. A lot of times we think it's all about what we do, and to some extent it is based on inspired action, but a lot of what we do is based on how we think of ourselves. So one of the things, and here they go, the top 3 things that I hear the most, and sometimes I have to correct myself, is I don't know. There's nothing wrong with not having knowledge, but often people don't take that I don't know and they don't convert it into the knowledge quest. And that's why a lot of people cannot turn off that trading time for money, because when you are all knowing, again, this is probably a little bit more hermetic principles than not. When you step into, if you do not know and you are coming into knowledge, there's pretty much nothing that you can't find out. And so when I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do, you hear that? I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do. That spin cycle in your mind will keep you stuck and paused. So that's what I hear most. And then if they've had a dynamic change in their business partner falls off, company bought out, something that's changed in the laws in terms of the way they act or have to execute in their business, the I don't know, the constant spin cycle will pause your margins in money making. Second one, it's almost a default. I'm trying. That one gives a lot of hesitancy as far as like your execution point. If you're just trying, it just shows hesitancy. If you're more like I'm doing, we are accomplishing this, this is what we're doing, it definitely puts you in a more executive state. You're really pushing through any type of hesitancy, and you become more realized from that statement. And I'm just saying, and when I hear people that say I'm trying, well, what do you mean you trying? You either doing it or you're not. Are you doing business or you trying? Like, I know that there's this whole 50 cents, get rich or die trying. He even says get rich. He doesn't lead with I'm trying to get rich. So the next one, very simple, if instead of when. If I make it, if I do that, you got to cut that one out. That one's probably a pet peeve of my very own that I have for myself. And you want to lead with the word when we have done this, when this comes. Internal language is everything, and business and the way that you walk. And therefore, I'm just going to go ahead and just leave you at that. Those are the 3 things that when people are in my midst, in my realm, if you will, I find that those are sayings that you have to transform into more of an embodiment, more proclamative ways of talking to yourself and expressing yourself to others. It makes the world of a difference. So without further ado, let's get to the tax business, because that's really why you're here. You didn't know you were going to get a spiritual message. Deadline 15th, Wednesday. Again, we're telling our clients, it doesn't mean that everyone's done. If you don't have that, if you haven't touched your tax person until today. If you have more complexities, more than likely you will be advised to file an extension. And I would say initiate the extension yourself. You can go to the IRS, Google IRS extension, and then you will find platforms that will file it for you. The other one thing that I want to tell you that's coming across my desk that is a mishap is sometimes people file their personal taxes, their personal income, their W-2, and have a full-blown business that they're operating in, meaning they have an EIN number, they have cash flow going into it. They'll file their personal taxes, but they forget to file or got the impression that they're filing their business taxes separate. While if you're in a partnership or a corporation, it's separate. But remember, the corporation and the partnership produces income documents that you need to file with your personal tax returns. So that does cause a lot of amendments. Now, I know that people are in the world of the DIY. This is why, even if you're able to get your EIN and LLC, you got to pull someone in who specifically supports businesses. And so these are some of the things that I'm not saying one-offs. This is something I see often. So we have to amend taxes. The other thing that I've noticed, when you're crossing 50K, get bookkeeping. Stop putting your stuff on pieces of paper, compiling things, and expecting to have a clean tax return. Let me go ahead and tell you, bookkeeping does a couple of things in the world of getting capital and then also understanding where you're at in your business. If you're having the bookkeeping quarterly, but if you're a high income, always advise, if not every other month, you do not see the progression in your business. You can't do your estimated taxes, and it's just a big mess when it comes to tax time. That the only time you touch your business and you touch your taxes is during tax time. You're going to find that you're behind the ball when it comes to that. So always try to touch your financials, which mean inside of bookkeeping. Yes, there's QuickBooks. QuickBooks tends to be extremely sophisticated. I love it. My team's certified in it. However, Zero, Wave, there's several different other platforms that can help you. And no, Square and HoneyBooks are not bookkeeping platforms. They're invoicing platforms that may provide some sort of insight, but it does not create a balance sheet. It doesn't talk about liabilities or assets. So you want to have a bookkeeper you want to have a bookkeeper, or at least take some classes on bookkeeping. The next thing, this one is a doozy because I've seen this where you want to pay your kids. You saw that TikToks and you're all happy about it, but you pay your kids, you put your kids on payroll and you give them a 1099, causing them to actually have to file their taxes and then having self-employment tax. Again, enlist a professional to help you set up a W-2 and to see what parameters that you have and that you need for your child. I've seen this, and then we're filing 1099s for children who are children of S Corp owners, Schedule C's. You gotta enlist help. Also, I've seen 1099s filed for the owner of the business. So for example, they're an S Corp and all of a sudden we get this 1099 that the 1099 was rendered out to one of the shareholders. Can't do that. Causes a payroll headache and a lot of correction. So definitely get with a professional that can advise you accordingly. The other one is just a general things. While I understand when you're starting your business, a lot of things you're going to DIY. Fine, go ahead and get your EIN number, get established with your LLC, but make sure that you have, within 6 months, seek out advice from an advisor or a real business consulting. Everybody says that they talk about business consulting, but I'm going to go ahead and pull rank. A tax advisor with a business background and who runs a business is probably pretty a good partnership to have or to enlist, because we're going to be looking at not just how you're formed, we're going to look at your payroll, your structure, how you're moving, and advise accordingly. So I've seen so many things like people do nonprofits incorrectly, people not creating relationships within the books. Get someone who has a hybrid mind, or at least a hybrid team that could bring you in and get you set up on a foundation. Again, some important deadlines next week. April 15th is tax season deadline. May 15th is nonprofit deadline. And April 15th is also estimated taxes deadline. So I think that is all. Like, watch the self language, move accordingly. And one last note, take time to be more compassionate to yourself. Give yourself grace. Therefore, you can extend grace to others, because economically, the U.S. is definitely experiencing challenges. And regardless of your political affiliation, which I tend to be political and economically aware, I don't really talk about it online. We're going through some things over here. So definitely just be kind to your neighbors. You never know what a person is going through. And I always say, I do not want to be the reason why someone has a bad day, So with that being said, definitely have a blessed and abundant day. If you ever need to get a hold of us for consulting, we do that. Take a look at our link in the bio, the comments. We always have them aware. Check us out on any one of our social media platforms at DNA Fin Solutions. And with that being said, again, have a blessed afternoon. And until next time I decide to come on. So you all take care.